Madness trying to get everything organised this morning. Right, I think we're about there. So give me a second. How's the audio, by the way? All good? Just want to get logged in at this end so I can see what's going on. Jeez, one of those days. It started off really badly. Went to the petrol station to get some more cigarettes. Petrol station closed. Yes, they decided to have a sleep in. It was 8 o'clock, and I think they opened at 7 o'clock. So that's a fair sleep in, isn't it? Not good, actually. But that's all right. I'll send Mrs. Mechanic out very shortly. Right, here we go. Opening up. Probably going to make noise. Yes, there we go. Boom. Super. Right. Who have we got? We have got the one civil man in the workshop, together with Jim Kay. Good morning, gentlemen. Great to have you on board. So, what have I done this last week? It feels like I've done very little, but in reality, I know I've done quite a bit. Let's start with yesterday, because I can remember yesterday. Yesterday's, who else have we got? Mike Bazansky. Good morning, Andy. Good morning, Mike. Yes, so yesterday started out with the main mission to create the new jig. Connor K. Connor, your jacket is on its way to me. It's made up. So the wheels are turning slowly. So yeah, as you know, I've got these. Hang on, I'll go and get one. Hang on. So some of you might remember, oh golly, many moons ago, feels that way, probably 3 or 4 months ago, I had a lot of these sort of things to make up. Well, these are actually slightly different to the other ones. These are for a different vehicle. And unfortunately, because they're slightly different, this bit's the same, this back bar here. These 10mm bright steel rods are a different length. Can't remember what length they are now. And this bit here, which bolts to the vehicle, is slightly shorter. It's only 160mm, as the other one was longer. So it's quite technical in the fact that there's a couple of angles going on, as you can see. And of course, we've got that one as well there. So the important thing is that this plate is mounted correctly in respect of this plate. What these bits do in between to achieve that really is down to them. It's not critical to the design because there's nothing else in that area. So I ended up, I pretty much copied my previous design for the other one, and that's what I ended up with. And obviously, you've got to be able to take the thing out once you've welded it up. So these two bottom pins here are removable. Can't speak properly today. So if I just mount, hang on, I'll get rid of the pie. That's busy cooling down. It's like as hot as the sun at the moment. So let me just fit this in here, and then you can see how it works. God, you can tell I'm half asleep, can't you? Right, pop them in there, look. Oh, actually, they don't go back in very well, unfortunately, but they do ping out. You've got me a little tap with a hammer and they ping out, but I don't know if I can get it in there or not. No, I can't. Okay, not to worry. Live TV. But anyway, it's done. Took me about half a day to make that, and yeah, very happy. Give you a bit of a close up. You can see, obviously, the bottom bar locks in on these little pins. The bright steel 10mm rod drops into these little gullies. The holes are in place, and the top smaller plate, again, those pins are fixed. If they weren't fixed, then it'd be a lot easier to get in and out. But you'd have 2 more pins to remove and refit every single one, which, in times of the essence, I'd rather just give it a little tap with a hammer and it pings out and it's done, rather than have to remove 2 pins. Because, when you're making about 110 of these to make, so I've got those to weld up today. Hence the thumbnail with the helmet. Oh, man, that's not right. Okay, so coffee before it goes cold. Oh, that's good. First coffee of the day. Now, Simon Roll. Hey, Simon, good morning. Mrs. Mechanic is very grateful, in fact. She was stood here. In fact, I've got something else to show you. She was stood here on the ground, drilling holes using your chuck key, and it didn't miss a beat, didn't slip once. Very easy to use, even for Mrs. Mechanic. So thank you very much. It drilled probably, well, I say drilled holes, drill actuations done by Mrs. Mechanic was probably about 1,000, maybe 1,200 on that day. So she was quite busy, worked very hard to help, you know. She did all, basically I did all I did was the pilot drills on these, which I think is about a 3mm. Oh, you want to see my jig, don't you, for doing the pilots? Hang on then. Man, it's still playing adverts at this end. What the hell? That was weird. Right. Okay, bear with me a second. So, geez. So obviously, the holes that go into here are quite critical because they bolt to the vehicle, and obviously if they deviate slightly and they're not where they're supposed to be, then, well, the mechanic that's fitting the bracket to the vehicle tends to get a bit grumpy. Also, if the holes aren't down the center line, then of course the number plate's going to sit a little bit skew-if. And then most likely the customer's going to be a little bit grumpy. And then the mechanic's just going to get hold of it and try and twist it, which is going to crack the paint. And it, well, all goes sour from there, doesn't it? So I had to come up with a way, and this is probably massive overkill. So tell me if you do it a different way. But I made this the last time on the first bracket. So because I had a problem. You know, I mean, no, when I'm making just a small number of pieces, in fact, sometimes I'll even spot weld the template to the other piece, just, you know, rather than using clamps and stuff, because it makes it a bit harder on the pillar drill. I'll just spot weld it, drill all the holes with the pilot, and then just, you know, neck off the spot of the, well, I say spot weld, just a little dabber weld, basically, and then just grind through with a little grinder. And it all falls apart, and then I can do the next one. And that way you're guaranteed to get things absolutely perfect. But obviously with 100 and odd pieces, I couldn't do that. It was just way too time consuming. So I made this thing, and it worked out really well, actually. The problem is it's made from scrap, and it wanted to be a little bit longer. As you can see, the number plate bracket sticks out the end, and I really need another sort of 50mm, but I didn't have it. So it works. I just put a little plate under there and it doesn't flex too much. So you can see in here we've got a couple of templates already. So it all slides in along there. So you get your new piece. God, I'm doing this to camera. That slides down there, right? And it hits the stop at the end, and then you pop your actual template, which is this piece here, on top. So now you've got, if you could imagine, I'll stick another one in just for demonstration purposes. This is another template, by the way. You can imagine now you've got two pieces in there, look, and then these little screws here get tightened up, and that forces that plate up hard against this back here. And then you've got, I only used one last time, but you've got these two little bolts on top, M8s, which then force the whole thing down, and then, as you can see, you can drill your holes. Now, what I have come to realise is that having a pilot hole of 6mm isn't very accurate. So, on this particular recent project, I downsized. We made it a lot easier for me actually as well. I downsized to 3mm. There you go. You see, you've got 3mm on there, and 3mm, and that's the template for the small plate. I'll tell you what. Yes, it's time consuming, but man, it was really accurate. I was very happy with that. I did a few little tests afterwards for accuracy, and geez, and I was very happy. So it sort of paid off doing all that work. Right, hang on, back to the comments. Oh, not too bad actually. Right. Okay. Connor, we did Connor. Dave Copper. Good day, Andy. From Kent in the UK. Love the videos. Well, thank you, Dave. I do appreciate it. I did get a couple of adverse comments yesterday. One of them was from somebody that clearly didn't understand how to set up a differential, which is fine. But when I tried to explain it to them, and then they told me I was wrong, it takes you up a little bit, doesn't it? Got lots of diffs in my day. What he couldn't understand was that the specs, like the preload specs and stuff that manufacturers give you in the service manual, sometimes the way that they measure that preload is slightly different from one manufacturer to another, and he couldn't get his head around that bit, which was fine because I think he was doing a Toyota diff, and you know, obviously the specs were slightly different to the diff that we did in the video, which I think, well, actually it was out of a truck, but we pretended it was a Nissan Patrol diff, I think, or a Suzuki diff, one or the other. That doesn't matter. Oh my word, we've got Carlos, and I'm going to pronounce this wrong. Sorry, Carlos. Taupus, probably Taupus actually. Carlos Taupus. Morning, Andy. Carlos from Palmerston North. Excellent stuff. Been there a few times. Managed to escape as well, which is pretty good. Connor K. No worries, no hurries. Oh, man. I was running around like an idiot this morning, Connor. I had to empty the workshop before I could start. Jim Kelly. Oh my word. Hang on. Let me get rid of that. Andy, have prices and availability been an issue with steel and plastics? Prices are going through the roof here in the USA. Plastics I don't know about. Steel, I've got to pick some up next Friday. I was supposed to pick it up this Friday, but I ran out of money, so I've got to wait to get paid. So I'm picking it up on Friday next week. They haven't sent me an invoice, so I'll have to have a little look. I mean, steel does seem to be pretty expensive here anyway. We do have our own steel mills here in New Zealand, so they do make it here, but a lot of the steel is imported. China, unfortunately. Yeah, bit of a shame. Now, what I did buy, actually, aluminium. Hang on. So, good little segue. Thank you, Jim. You guys always give me great. Oh, jeez, nearly fell off. You give me some great segues. So yesterday, after I'd made the brackets, or the jig, should I call it, for said brackets, and today's job's welding those all up, which I'm not really looking forward to, but I don't have to think too much. So I had to make some little sort of bobbin things, some spacers out of aluminium. And these are 31 millimeters long. Oh, and Simon, your chuck drilled the holes. Thank you. They are 20 millimeters in diameter, and they have a 6.5 mil hole down the middle, and they can't have any sharp edges. So they've got little tiny chamfers all over the place. Very, very simple thing to make. Had to be relatively accurate, so that took time, just because I took the time just getting them all exactly the right length, 31 mil, but we got there in the end. Plus, they had to be painted, so these have just been clear lacquered. Thought that was the easiest way of doing it, really, because then you can't see my crappy painting. So to facilitate the making of those, and I only had to make 6 for now, I had to obviously go and buy some aluminium. So I used that Wakefield Metals that we got the phosphor bronze from, and I said, right, I need some aluminium rod, bar, call it what you like, depending on the size, 20 mil diameter. And I went on the website, and there's different types, and this one, I haven't got the receipt with me, it's in the car, but this one is slightly different aluminium to normal. For machining purposes, it turns into little chips in the main, which is really, really good. So very, very easy and quick to maintain. Even use my little cut off piece, which worked very well on this stuff. And cost-wise, Jim, I had to buy 3 meters of this because they didn't provide it in shorter lengths like they did the phosphor bronze. So a 3 meter length was 57 New Zealand dollars, including GST, which I thought was ridiculously cheap. Maybe somebody had made a mistake. I don't know. How much does it cost in your part of the world? 3 meters, 20 mil diameter, 57 New Zealand dollars. So I was very happy with that, in all honesty. Things went very, very well. And wait for it, there we go. Now, I was going to have a cigarette. So it wasn't too bad, all up. I've still got to invoice out those pieces. They're actually to be used to hold on a police motorcycle, believe it or not. I won't say the brand. Police motorcycle, obviously, they have sirens that make the extra noise, so you know that they're about to give you a speeding ticket. And they have to be mounted a bit further away from the mounting point to get the volume, because the bikes have got a bit of a fairing on them, and the part of the speaker is covered by the fairing, so we need to move it slightly more out so that it's louder, basically. So yeah, at the moment there's a bit of plastic drain pipe in there, a bit of plastic plumbing pipe stuff, and it looks a bit crap, so hence why I had to make the little, bobbins. Now, once I'd made those, in fact, just before I finished making those, another job came in. It did. It had to be the last job of the day. It was a Mrs. Mechanic, and she came and brought me this. Oh, golly gosh, everything's so friggin' heavy these days. And this is, this is a thing that she uses for crafty stuff. I have no idea what she does really, but it basically, she puts like a die cutter in there, and then she turns the handle, and it drags it through and cuts whatever it is, whatever material, usually card. It sort of squashes it all together, and then the die cutter does its job. And the handle fell off a long time ago. So she said, hey, before you put the aluminium rod away, do you fancy making me a new handle? So I made her a new handle, look. And I didn't have a washer the right size to go down the hole. So I found an old jet out of a carburetor, a nice brass jet, and machined it down into a washer. Honestly, things I have to do. But she's very happy with it. It's even got a little bit of grease in there as well to make it. She says, oh, this feels very nice to use. So that earned me a lot of brownie points. So I was very happy. It came out really well, actually. I had a bit of fun making that. It was quite nice to do something that wasn't too, critical. Kill switch, you're not late, mate. I was late anyway. Now then, going back, rewind. Golly. Right. So, Jim, hopefully that's at least partially answered your question. I can't comment on plastics. What I can say is the market, from the information that I've received from various sources, is the market is getting turned on its head. For many, many years, sort of the consumer, there was high demand, and, companies were fighting to, very competitive, bringing the prices down to sell their product. And there was in New Zealand especially, there's a hell of a lot of discounting goes on, especially in the bicycle world. I mean, that's where Ben works, in the bicycle world, and just pretty much every day is a sale day for them, which, is, from a legal perspective, is a bit difficult to get by anyway. However, it appears that manufacturers now, some manufacturers, and I'm not going to say who, certainly Ben's, I'm not sure on the brands that they sell, but it's 99 bikes, remit no more discounting. Basically, demand is massively outstripping supply. As you all know, there's limited supply around the world, freight's a problem, and now manufacturing is becoming a problem. Some plants have been closed for quite some time, stock levels have been depleted, so now there is limited supply. And because there's limited supply, basically you don't need to discount anymore, especially if demand is high. In actual fact, for bicycles, demand has gone up fourfold. So why would they discount? They can actually put their prices up because they know they're guaranteed to sell all the bikes they can get their hands on, basically. And the same seems to be happening in other parts of the market as well. Even food prices have gone up slightly. Crazy. So yeah, it's not great, to be honest. So obviously steel prices and stuff, there is very high demand, and there's limited supply. So it's going to go up, Jim. It's going to go up and keep going up for quite some time. Especially given that we're in New Zealand, and it takes quite a lot of lead time from placing an order or securing an order to it being manufactured, to it being shipped, to it being arriving here, to then going into the various warehouses around the country, then into the stores. We're not talking weeks here, we're talking months and months and months. Mike, so how many hours total labor per bracket? Mike, way too many. I wouldn't say it's a lost leader, but it doesn't earn very much. Well, there's a hundred. Let's say there's 100 brackets. There's going to be slightly more, but I always make a few spares, just in case one or two mistakes. We did. It's going to be. We've probably spent so far. I mean, most of the work's been done by myself on my own, but Mrs. Mechanic helped drill some holes, so she did a day's labour as well, and a little bit actually. Did a day and a bit. So I've put in probably I would say 3 days so far, and she's put in a day and a bit. And it's going to be a full day's welding, a full day's cleanup, and probably 2 days spraying. But they won't be full days, so half days. So what's that work out to be? I don't know. Probably about 7, maybe 8 days labour. So 8 times 8 hours is 64. Gee, it's not looking good, is it? To produce 100 brackets. That's a lot of time. But I suppose half a day is making the jig. I don't know. Maybe 7 days. 7 times 8. And they probably work full 8-hour days either. So say 50 hours. So 50 hours, 100 brackets. What's it worth? About 2.6. Yeah, so I'm got to pay for the materials, obviously, which was about 450, I think, for all the materials. So 2.6 minus 450, and then we've got a bit of MIG wire, a bit of electric, some paint as well. So yeah, I mean, I suppose it probably brings in, I haven't really calculated about this because it just needs to be done. Probably brings in about 1,200 profit overall, divided by 50. So yeah, I suppose I'm getting paid $24 an hour to use my own workshop. It's not a lot, is it? But unfortunately, the reason why I ended up making these brackets was because the supplier that makes them was massively oversubscribed and there was huge long lead times. Unfortunately, my lead time on this particular job has probably been longer than their lead time. So in hindsight, it would have been probably better to use them. But I was supposed to try and get them done over Christmas. It didn't happen. So yeah, Mike, not a lot of money, mate. In all honesty, for the amount of work going into it, I could make probably the same kind of profit doing a major service on one of the Surf Club Vikings. And I could do that in 2 days. Such is life. But it's nice to make stuff, I suppose. It's a bit different. The one civil man hit the like button. 20 likes and 52 viewers. 32 of you obviously don't like the live stream. Simon, pie. Just had a British classic Fay Bentos. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of those, Simon, at all, because I just don't like the pastry. They seem to be a bit soggy whenever I cook them, or when I used to cook them in England. Those are the kind of pies that it's that soft kind of crumbly gooey pastry stuff. Gooey pastry, I'm not really a fan of that. So you can have that one, Simon. It's all good. Almarine Velocity. Oh, Almarine, yes. You were on last week. Hey Andy, how are you, mate? I'm knackered, in all honesty. Anyway. Kill Switch BB. Damn it, I'm late. No, you're not late. And the rest of you mob. Simon, the jig just needs some thumb screws. It does. It sure does. I know. There's refinements that could be made. Steve, good evening, Andy. Everyone, good evening, Steve. And good to have you on board, mate. Thanks for joining us. Simon, thanks for the tips on the XCP spray, Steve. It's done the job this week with all that rain. Fantastic. Look, you see. Great guys. Garth May is in the house. A customer this week told me his bike was running when I picked it up. Well, we all know what customers are like. But there was no power coming from the bottom coils. Took me ages to figure that out. Frigging wasted heaps of my time. Yes. Fact number 1, Garth. Take what the customer tells you with a pinch of salt. Unfortunately, they often tell you what they think you want to hear. I've had a couple of cases this week, in the last couple of weeks, that have been an absolute arse to deal with. And really, it's all because customer tells you one thing and you know full well something else has happened. And then when you do work it out and you tell them what you think has happened, they get very, very upset because they're being caught out. Simon, that rod you had in your hand will cost about 35 quid in the UK. Wow. More expensive in England. I did think aluminium was more expensive. Aluminium in England for scrap certainly fetches a hell of a lot more money than it does here. It's almost not worth taking aluminium for scrap metal. It's that poor is the price on it at the moment. It was last time I took some, actually, which was a while ago. Garth May, P.S. Also got my front sprocket ground, $40 or pounds, whichever. Stoked. See, job done. Excellent. Well done, Garth. Another problem solved. Jim K, how many of those machines have been sold of the original 40 or so? Okay. Well, there's 40 coming later in the year. There was only, I think, about 16, maybe 18 turned up on the initial consignment. Some have been allocated as demos, Jim. So they're not all sold, and we don't want to sell them all because we want to keep some demos. So we could sell them all quite easily, and I'm pretty sure that they all will sell. I'm looking forward to the videos that I did. Phenomenal machine. I had a lot of fun doing that, driving that machine around. So I can't say too much, Jim, to be honest. I could probably say a bit more on an email, to be fair. Muller Volker, greetings from Hamburg, Germany. Good morning, Muller. Can't wait to weld stuff in summer. Acquired a TIG welder in 2019 and a 20-litre argon bottle. Excellent. Ben's got the TIG welder. He bought one a few years ago and he's trying to get, well, he hasn't done any welding for a long time using it, but he's going to become our TIG welding expert. I've not had any time with it whatsoever, to be honest. I'm looking forward to maybe some point in the future he'll bring it down here and leave it here for a while, and I'll be able to do a bit of TIG welding and get my head around doing that particular skill. Richard Blumberg, hey mate, Rick from Virginia, USA here. Well, good morning, Richard. Great to have you on board, or Rick, in fact, by the looks of it, you prefer to be called. We get people from all over the place, don't we? Springy 2112, finally caught you live. What a bloke! Loving the CB750. There were plenty when I started riding. Gold dust now. Peace and love, brother. They're getting harder to come by. I don't see very many here in New Zealand. I've come across probably 3 or 4 since I started doing the project. But yeah, there's not that many around. Big Rock, what machine are we talking about? Got here a little late. Well, I can't disclose the make and model, unfortunately. But it's a new ROV. Well, it's new to, I say it came out very recently, new to market. And it really is a phenomenal piece of kit. Extremely fast, very powerful for an ROV. It's a whole new chapter in ROV design from that particular manufacturer. And I think it's going to be very appealing to the domestic recreational market. Yeah, it really is a good bit of kit. It's very well made and there's a lot of really good features. Very, very happy with it, actually. And I'm a few more steps closer to getting one. We'll have to wait and see, though. It all depends on availability. I might have to wait a few months, so I've been told, but I'm just lining everything up. Plus, I've got to work out how to get it in the garage because it's about 15 centimeters too tall to get through the door on the roof height because I've gone for the 4-seater one. So I have to come up with a cunning plan. Muller, TIG is very slow, but very clean. It is. You can get a really nice, clean weld with TIG, and it's very, like you say, very, very controlled as well. MIGs are just for getting the job done, really. You can do a nice, neat weld with MIG, and you can weld some much thicker stuff with a MIG than you can with a TIG, I believe. But I do want to get into that sort of TIG stuff where you can do those nice, what do they call them, like the coin type, well, That's what you try and get with a MIG as well, isn't it? But you can get some really nice welds on there. Good for little stuff. Really good. And aluminium. You see, my MIG's not set up. It will do, obviously, aluminium, but it's not set up for aluminium. The one Silverman, did you ever get the email? I am the world's worst for not replying. Okay, let's search for the email. What will it be under, one Silverman? I think I'll have a little look. I haven't actually checked my emails this morning, so bear with me. I don't know. Oh. Hang on. Yes, I did, and I forwarded it to Mrs. Mechanic. As soon as Connor's jacket turns up and Steve's shirt, which are both on their way to me now, we've got a pile of stuff to get posted out. So we're going to do it all in one hit. So, and that also includes the Reg 10 caps for the 3 sort of runners up as well from the draw that we did on New Year's Eve. So don't think that I've forgotten. I haven't. It's all happening. A calendar came in from Jared at Forge for Connor as well. So that's going to go in there, this year's calendar. But yeah, we've got a lot of stuff to send out, to be honest. So it's going to happen. Don't worry. I did send it on an email. I've got it here. I will remember. Don't worry. You'll definitely, if you haven't, I'll tell you on the live stream when everything's been posted. If it doesn't turn up a couple of weeks after we've posted it, let me know. But it will happen for sure. I tend to be pretty good at sending things out eventually. Big Rock lets them out the tyres to squeak it into the garage. And that's the plan. Not sure if I'm going to gain enough. That's the plan. I might have to just whip the rear wheels off and put it on like a, like a little trolley or something just to drive it in. Because I could drive it in 4-wheel drive and it would just drag itself in. But it's not ideal, is it? But that may be the only way of doing it. But there's a couple more boxes still to tick before I can go ahead with that. So bear with me. Simon, TIG is a hard art to master. It is, and when your eyesight's getting worse as well, that's not going to help. Al Marine Velocity, Andy, have you managed to fit in a toolbox tour? I haven't managed to do any videos recently. I had to make a decision to just get on with this particular project. It's way overdue. That's the project of making these brackets. I've got 100 and a few to make of those. I'm at the point now where I need to tack them all together using the jig that I made yesterday, and then the final weld on them all, and then it's over to Mrs. Mechanic to clean them all up, because there's obviously now and again a bit of splatter and stuff, and she cleans all the welds up with a wire brush on the drill, the rotary brush. It gives them a wipe down as well, so they're all ready for painting. And then if all goes to plan, next weekend I'll be spraying them up, and then they can get delivered the week after once they've hardened up. But yeah, it's a bit of a saga. Once I get those out of the way, some more parts should have arrived for Holly's DR200. I can get the wiring harness taped up on the CB750, and then basically fit the tires. Finish. I've actually got a few connectors to replace still. Got the ignition switch still to fit, which I'm still waiting to get the plug for. Simon's mate with the website, whatever he was called. I got it on my desktop. Hang on, where is he? Koji Cat is still not sending out stuff because of the pandemic at the moment. He's sort of been put on hold. So as soon as he can send stuff out, and yes, I can get them. A gentleman, one of the viewers, sent me a link to eBay, but it was crazily expensive compared to Koji Cat. So I'm just going to sit tight. The bike's not urgent, so as soon as, plus there's a few other bits and pieces I want from the same guy as well. So once he's posting out again, I'll place the order and they'll be here within a couple of weeks probably. And then we can get the ignition switch fitted. And the bike won't be far off to go back to Alan at that point. It'd be good to get it out of the way, to be honest. It's been dragging on for a while. Oh, hang on. Go back. Oh yes, go back. Right. So toolbox tour, definitely going to happen. Still, I've got a couple more roll cabs potentially coming in. Not being confirmed yet. So I want to have a real good sort out and a tidy up. That'll take a whole day. I want to label all the drawers so I know where everything is, because it's getting a little bit confusing because there's a lot of drawers now. And then once that's done, we'll do a toolbox tour for sure, guarantee. But it'll be a video, not a live stream. Now then, what? The one Superman killer drones. I found it. It's all right. All good. Richard Blumberg. I personally like the Kawasaki Z1. Have a 74 Z1 drag bike. Wow. And a 75 Pro Street Turbo Nitrous. Oh my word. Ridiculously dangerous. Good luck, Richard. Simply, Steve, I'm worse at replying. Between 4 business emails, I have thousands of unread mail. Oh, mate, honestly. It's just the way it is, though. We're all just too busy. Once a month, thank you so much, Andy. No problem, mate. It's all good. Richard, thanks for the videos. Oh, that's a pleasure. I just need more time. That's the thing. Muller. Simon, you need to clean the part much more. Yes, you do. DC welding with it is not so difficult when you've welded before. Okay. Yeah, I know it's going to be super clean. The TIGs do not like any kind of impurities. Ben was saying that, so you've got to super clean them. Once a month, by the way, any tips on air hockey? We are playing tonight with my mum. Says my daddy's ruthless. I do like air hockey on those tables. Good fun. You just need fast reaction times, which, I don't know, maybe get a bit of practice in first. That's probably that. And a lot of fake knocks as well are quite good. You know, where you move is it a punt? I don't know what it is, the little handheld thing. You move that as if you're about to hit it early and then you hit it late. That's a good tip. That often works. I like that. That usually tricks people. Oh, hang on. Got to go back again. Springy. Eben, though, I think even though I started as a mechanic in 1984, I've still gained a bunch of useful tips from you. Oh, that's nice to know. Knowledge is power and should be shared. Thank you. It is. And I mean, you know, without sounding too morbid, well, there's 2 reasons why I started the channel. One is, originally, the very first reason, I suppose, was I wanted to do like a flipped classroom for the students at Unitech. And Unitech themselves wouldn't give me enough room on the server to store the videos. And I was using all my own camera gear and stuff anyway. And to be fair, quite a few of the videos I made at home, my own workshop. So I very quickly realized, hey, you know, there's more people that can benefit from this anyway, so why not just stick it on YouTube? And one of my students a couple of years earlier had really badgered me. It actually got annoying, to be honest. He badgered me to start a YouTube channel, and I thought, oh yeah, I'll get around to it, mate. It's all good, you know. And I didn't really know how it worked and kept putting it off. But I did register the name Andy Mechanic, which I'm so pleased I did. That was back in 2012. So really now, yeah, I suppose the community has grown up around it now. Things have evolved quite a bit, but you know, the main reason for doing it on YouTube was to, I suppose, lock things in. I don't know how long I'm going to be around for. I mean, my dad died at 58 and I'm 49 shortly. Yes, in April. You know, it sounds awful, doesn't it? You know, you clock watching, wondering what's going to happen, but you got to make the most of it. And I thoroughly enjoy making the videos, and we've done all sorts of stuff. I was flicking through the videos only the other day, you know, on my phone, just scrolling through all the videos that have gone on the channel, and there's so many out there. It is. I do find it quite sad sometimes, though, when I look at some of the very early videos. There's still only maybe 100 or 200 views on those videos, and it's because they've sort of disappeared into the background. So I've still got them. I've still got the original video that I uploaded, and you know, who knows? Maybe I'll go in and make a new thumbnail and repost it again. Maybe just maybe change the intro and stick it up again. But I don't know. It's a lot of work. And there's no guarantee it's going to get any more views, to be honest. And it's already there. If people want to find it, they'll find it. So thanks, Springy. I appreciate that. Big Rock. I'm in the market for a new ROV. Time to upgrade from the Rhino. Rhinos are fantastic machines, and they still fetch really good money here in New Zealand. I think I'll wait until we hear about this new arrival. In fact, Springy, are you in the States? Whereabouts are you? Tell me where you are, because if you're in the States, you want to get hold of Jim Kay. He will tell you all about it. Now then, Simon Muller, it's taken me a year to get a weld that looks okay. Jeez. But you're right. Clean, clean, clean. Keep the gas going a few seconds after, then wire brush when it's cooling. Yes, I know you've got to keep the gas going for a while. You've got to keep shielding it until it cools down a bit. Jim Haynes, I'm here finally. Sorry to be late. Jim, we'll forgive you, mate. It's all good. We're all busy. Nice to have you on board, Jim, and thanks for joining us again. The One Civil Man, got any tips on changing radiator fluid on a Polaris Ace? And can you mix 5W50 oil with 10W50? Oh, pretty sure you can mix it. It shouldn't be a problem. You can blend oil. That's all the oil manufacturers do. Shouldn't really be an issue. Although, is it because that's all you've got left? And yeah, I mean, I've been known to, when I've been doing servicing and maybe I've run out of the oil, and you know, I've only need another couple of 100 mil. I'll top it up with something else that's very, very similar. It's not really an issue, I don't think. Simon might reprimand me for that, but you know, I don't see it being a problem, and it's never caused a problem. Brendan Lee Grant Mills. Hi Andy, how are you today? A little bit tired, to be honest. It's been a long week. Glad to be home. In fact, I think the reason why I'm tired is we had a really long weekend last weekend. I was at home on the Friday, so I was busy working then in the workshop actually. Saturday, Sunday, Monday was a bank holiday. We had a short week, so I've got to do 5 days of the work in 4 days for work, basically. Still get the same number of phone calls. And then we've got another long weekend, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So I've taken this opportunity of these 2 long weekends to get these brackets done. It would have been nice to have gone somewhere for the day, take Mrs. Mechanic somewhere, but it's not going to happen. She's busy helping me anyway doing them, so that's all right. We'll go away maybe in a couple of weeks. Steve, time is definitely our most valuable commodity. It is, Steve. It absolutely is. And you've got to really, I mean, to be honest, if this job came in again in the future, I wouldn't take it on. It just eats way too much time. It's affected me making the videos for the channel. And the last thing you want, I could have made a video making the jig. Yes, I could have done. But I don't think it will be very valuable to anybody. It's so specific to this particular job. Yes, it gives you an idea how to make a jig, but it would have taken me all day to make the jig rather than half a day if I'd filmed it. So I just had to crack on, and the videos just have to go on the back burner a bit. And it is important, sometimes as a YouTube creator, you put yourself on this pedestal where you set yourself these goals to, I'm going to crank out 3 videos a week. Boom, 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 out they all go. But in reality, there's been sometimes months have gone by and I haven't posted a new video. This is before I used to do live streams, so there'd be nothing new going on the channel for over a month. And views, yes, they dropped a little bit, but not by very much. Subscriptions dropped a little bit, but not by very much. It's quite resilient, is the channel. It can cope with not having new videos every single week. And end of the day, I have a full-time job. I have other commitments as well. It's really nice to get back into it and making the videos again, but I don't have to crank them out every single week. It's just the way it is. Once a man, 10W40. Okay. You was talking about 10W50 and 5W50. Do you want to put 10W40 in there as well? John. Hey, John Nuttall. Andy, how hard would it be to incorporate the neutral light into the CB750 ignition relay system before you tape the loom? I'm trying to think of the advantage of that. because the ignition relay only comes on when you turn the ignition on, because it's triggered by the original circuit, by which point the neutral light should already be on. So it would be very simple to do, I think, but why would I want to do it? What's the tell me, John, what the benefit of doing that would be. Alish, hey Andy, how are you? And the Mrs. Mechanic's really good. I'm knackered as always, busy in the workshop. I didn't want to get out of bed this morning. I didn't. But anyway, didn't get finished till about 7:30 last night. So it's not too late. But when it's we stayed up watching TV till about 12:30. There you go. That's why I'm knackered, to be honest. I forgot about that. Kill switch BB 5W 10W is only referring to viscosity when cold. When hot, they both end up the same viscosity. There you go. Easy. Springy. I'm in North Lincolnshire, but I think it's Big Rock that you were asking if he was in the States. Yeah. Sorry, I'm terrible with these. Yeah. Was it Big Rock that was after the ROV? I think it was, wasn't it? Yes. Yes, sorry, Big Rock. Whereabouts are you, Big Rock? What part of the planet do you reside at? Thanks, Springy. Appreciate that. Right. Hang on. Oh, we're almost there. No, sorry, I meant 10W40 instead of 10W. Okay. Well, I think you'll probably find that the bike is listed to take either, in all honesty, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. Richard Perry, hey Andy, love your channel. Have you worked on many Harley bikes? I haven't, unfortunately. One thing is, I tend to not really. I've always worked in well, for the few bike shops that I worked in, it's always been Japanese bikes. So Harleys, no, unfortunately not. I've worked on a couple of Triumphs that have come in my own workshop for servicing and stuff, but nothing more than that, to be fair. Just basic servicing on those. But no, Harleys, I think I've done tyres on Harleys and stuff, but nothing more than that. Big Rock, I'm in Canada. All right, so if you have a chat with Jim Kay behind the scenes, then Jim can fill you in on that new model and maybe direct you to where you need to go to get a price. John, thought your system was now a stand-alone one. The ignition relay, just for clarification, the ignition relay that I fitted to the CB750, all it does is the circuit for the primary winding of the ignition coils. All of the rest of the ancillaries circuits that were powered by the original circuit on the bike that goes through the ignition switch, through the kill switch, just through the ignition switch, are still powered by the original wiring. Original circuit. However, I have also replaced all of that wiring now as well. So things like the lights and so on are all powered through the ignition switch. It's just the primary circuit that's powered directly through that ignition relay. Okay, and I did that because I just wanted to get maximum voltage to the primary windings, and it's paid off. You've seen the bike start. It's unreal. It's a complete transformation as to what it was when the bike first came in. Despite number 2 still being a bit down on compression, but I think that's going to improve with use because it's been parked for so long. I'm hoping. Fingers crossed. Simon, Miss February looks good in the background. She does, doesn't she? Yes, and no red tape required either. Not for February. I think March, there's going to be quite a lot of red tape. But yes, she does. She's very, very relaxed, just down by the lathe. Very happy. Thanks, Jared. Appreciate that. And well observed there, Simon. Big Rock. Thanks, Andy. No problem, mate. The 179. How did those different electrical tapes work? Still in the box. Since the live stream, I can't remember what I did yesterday. In fact, great segue. Sunday afternoon. Yes, after the live stream last week, I made something completely unscheduled. I'll show you before I have my pie. I'm going to unplug you. Hang on. Okay, 3, 2, 1. So, Mr. Mechanic is a bit shorter than me, and I had to mount the pillar drill a bit lower down, so I made this. Oh God, it's a bit heavy. There we are, look. I made a sub-shelf off the end of the workbench, and the pillar drill mounts on there, and she likes it a lot. It was brilliant. Oh, there we go, look. And it's got some temporary little brackets here, look, that hold it all in place, which I just grabbed off the scrap bin, off the shelf that I keep all the scrap metal. But eventually, I'm going to put some really neat sort of, maybe some shock absorbers or something down there. Look really cool, because it's perfect height as a seat as well. So I'm going to, it's not quite finished. Oh, going down. So I'm going to infill these 2 holes as well in the same style. I think this is 3mm plate with some more countersunk stainless bolts in there. I think it'll look pretty cool, actually. Very useful. And it was put like this so she could put one of the boxes, one of the plastic boxes of the bits to drill, for example, on here. And then on this side, she can have another box of the ones that are done. You know, far better to a whole shelf than it was just to make a bracket to hold the pillar drill, because that way she can have all the bits and pieces at the same height. So yeah, very cool. Quite happy with that. There you go. Look, there's some of the welding. I think I was on form that day. It was pretty good. But it needs a design change, because I've already smacked my ankle on this once. This needs to be moved and put to the back, which is pretty easy. So I'll do that when I get around to fitting the shocks. And the shocks are more of a feature, because at the end of the day, I like the way the workshop looks. Right, back up to the bench. There we go, look. It also means I've got somewhere to put my feet now as well, which is great. Okay, I'm going to start my pie. Now, the pie that we've got today, you pie connoisseurs out there, this one was from New World Supermarket. Now, I did get a steak, it's not a steak, I got a mince and cheese that I had yesterday. I wasn't over impressed, to be honest. But that's the brand, the Baker's Son, steak and cheese. Angus beef. Yeah, we'll wait and see. It's going to have to be bloody good to top the one from the Wild Bean Cafe, I know that. Oh, it's stuck. You ready? It's stuck to the plate. Oh no. Oh, we got it. It's all right. We're good to go. Oh, it's not very warm anymore. Semi-warm pie. Right, hang on. Back to the comments. So, electrical tapes. Haven't got around to it. Still haven't got some what we call proper loom tape, which doesn't have any adhesive at all. I did spot some at work, so I'm going to ask Dave where he got it from and get one of those as well, because I might decide to go down that route. We'll have to wait and see. Just have a bit of a play around, see what works best. Will I do a video on it? I probably will, but not taping the whole loom, just really discussing different ideas and, you know, because we've not done that before. And it's, you know, often you've got to tape up looms. So maybe Steve might have some input on that one as well, actually. I'm sure he's done a lot of loom taping over the years. I've only really ever done parts of a loom as a repair. I've never completely stripped an entire wiring harness and retaped it all up again. So it's a new one for me as well. And I want to do a good job. Oh, hang on a minute. John, I see now, cool, hitting the like button. Okay. 171, that's awesome, thank you. My granddad is making me a workbench. Oh, that's nice. What a bloke. Simon, how short is Mr. Mechanic? That is at least 1.5 foot off the floor. I know, but the pillar drill is quite tall. Okay, I'll turn you around. All right, turn you around. All right, there's the pillar drill. In fact, we'll go and have a wander again. So that's the pillar drill, you see. So that obviously sits on the shelf, and then all the way up here, and that's probably 2 foot there. you know, and it wants to be elbow height really for ease of use. And Simon, there is your chuck. Recognize that, mate, don't you? Good job. Thank you for that. So yeah, it's, you know, by the time you put it on there, in fact, the way that I made it is this bit here, the table, the turntable bit, is exactly when it's on the same height approximately as the workbench. So Mrs. Mechanic's elbows are, well, the height of that. And this is quite high. This is a really high bench. It's about 1 meter high as the bench. In fact, let's measure it. What the hell? It's a lot higher than most workbenches. And that's because of the, there we go. What is it? Come around this side because the floor drops as well. So. Oh, look at that. 105 centimeters. That's a tall bench. So it probably looks a bit out of proportion, to be honest. Right. Oh, you're all going to get dizzy now. All right, quick pan of the workshop. There you go, look. CB750 tucked away in the corner. Oh, Steve's sticker. Look at that. And this Made in England is off a Triumph Bonneville. It goes on the headstock, so I thought it was quite cool. I had to put it on a black background, so obviously I stuck it on Steve's sticker because, well, he's made in England as well, which is pretty cool. So there you go, look, around the workshop. It's all very empty at the moment because I'm going to be welding short. Full pan. How's that for value for money? Right, coming back. Pie's going to be really cold now. So anyway, hopefully that's helped give you... You'll be able to work out now how high Mrs. Mechanic is, won't you? How tall she is. Anyway. Rewind. Right. Mike Adams. Hi all. Good morning, Mike. Good to have you on board, matey. Can you see me all right? That's better, isn't it? This February. Okay. The Once of Man. He's not the fastest. He's been at it for 2 years now. Really? Or was it 3? Oh no. I want to do a new top for this big workbench actually. Because it actually bounces quite a lot. It's made of, I would say it's probably 5mm plate, but there's nothing going across it. So I don't know what they used to use it for at the shipyard before, but it does bow down in the middle, which is really bad when you're trying to make frames and stuff, because you know it doesn't. You've got to compensate for that or put little wedges in and stuff. So I want to cut this off and put something like I don't know, maybe a 10mm top on it. But with reinforcing bars underneath as well. And then that way it's a bit more, I mean, it's a solid bench, don't get me wrong, but the top just bounces around. So yeah, I need to tidy it up. And I might even make it where it's got the top's made up of a number of separate pieces, which are like inserts that are all bolted into place. So you know, if one ever needs to be changed in the future, you can just unbolt one insert, and everything's flush mounted with those countersunk stainless cap heads. You know, so that way you could have like a module top where you could take one piece out and put something else in that does a different job. Maybe it'd be quite cool, wouldn't it, to get my head around that. Pat Toohill or Toohill. I prefer cherry or apple pie. Lol. Well, I actually quite like apple pie too. Fireblade. Morning, Andy. I know you work on quads, etc. I do. Have you any experience of a Kubota diesel RTV? Rate them. Right, so you call RTV, that, do you mean like a side-by-side? Is that what an RTV is? So look, Kubota RTV. Because these side-by-sides are called different things around the world. This is the problem. Yes. Okay. Well, they're not very fast. They're very, very commercially orientated. I think they're pretty reliable from memory. Quite a few of the councils here in New Zealand use Kubotas. Obviously cheap to run being diesel. And Kubota definitely know how to make an engine, a diesel engine, that's for sure. They've been doing that for years. But no good as a recreational machine. They're just designed to plod around, basically. So it really depends what you want to use it for. But if it's for recreational use, definitely not the machine you want. If you're going to be going out cleaning footpaths and stuff, perfect. Alice, don't you have a microwave in the shop to warm your pies? I can't, honestly. At the moment, there's a big ass rat that comes in this workshop because he keeps leaving his footprints around. So and there's already poison out all over the place. But obviously, either he's immune to it now or just doesn't eat it. But no, foodstuffs in the workshop overnight, and a microwave would never get cleaned. There's one in the house. It's like 30 seconds walk. It's not a problem. And to be honest, I don't mind cold pies. I often find an old pie in the glove box of the ute, and I'll eat that. And in fact, I found one the other week that was about a week old. I worked out after I'd eaten it. That was still okay. Probably not the best idea, though. Steve, only one pie. Andy, mate, you'll wither away. Should have had some beans as well. Yes, well, I'm going to have beans on. Simon sent me some beans, some English Heinz baked beans. So I'll be having beans on toast one morning. I'm saving them for that. Can't beat beans on toast. Mike Adams, I'm listening in while doing maintenance on my Kenworth T880 roll-off dumpster truck. Nice. What a machine. Steve, I can send you some adhesive-free loom tape if you want, mate. I think I've got a few rolls from my time at the dealers. I'll route it out. That will be very helpful, Steve. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Awesome sticker, mate. It's your sticker. You designed it, not me. Tom James, where can I get a Teng Tools mat? Can't find them from the usual scumbags. Neither can I. I got given two when I first started doing the YouTube stuff. They're both looking pretty tired. In fact, when you look at some of the very early videos, they are so bright. It's almost too bright for the camera. But I say I've got two, managed to keep hold of them, haven't set fire to them. Oh, pardon me, set fire to them too much. I don't know where you can get them from. I know that ISL, the importers for Teng here in New Zealand, don't have any and haven't had any for a long time. So I think they were probably a one-off order that got distributed and then they just never got any more done. So I don't know where you'd get one from, to be honest. Probably made by the same people that make bar mats. That's sort of the same kind of texture. So maybe there might be an online a website where you can design your own bar mat. You know, there's plenty of those kind of things around now where you can just upload the file and get it made, and then they'll ship it out to you. So that might be an option of you getting your own bespoke Teng Tools mat, but they are really useful. I don't use it for everything. You know, I try to preserve it for some jobs and just use a bit of cardboard instead. But it is useful, I must admit, though. They both have. The other one's up there somewhere. I haven't lost it. Now then. Simon, you need a workshop cat. Yes. Well, in actual fact, our workshop dog, Marmite, she thinks she's a cat because she grew up with cats. But she's useless. Absolutely useless at trying to catch anything. She's scared of anything that's alive, basically, and just runs away. Either that or she just doesn't even notice it. She just sits there and there can be a mouse just scampering behind her and she has no idea. She's either deaf or dumb. I've not worked out which yet. Deaf, dumb and scared, I think, probably all three. Pat, get a big sticky trap for rodents. Works way better than poison. Oh, I should try that. And then when we come in on a Sunday morning, we'll see if the sticky traps worked. Okay, leave that one with me. See what I can organise. Fireblade. For rats, you need a night scope and PCP air rifle. I left my Webley Raider air rifle, which is a bloody good one, actually. I left it in England. So somebody got themselves a very nice air rifle. But I just didn't want to risk bringing it to New Zealand because I didn't have any documentation for it. It had all got lost. The One Silverman. Tried to have a microwave in the garage, but it fell off the shelf and shattered into pieces in the first 30 seconds. Oh no, got it. Yum, rat pie. Okay, well, you can have that one. Simon, we used to have a Honda CR-V. It has a fridge in the very small dash. What the hell? Was linked to the AC, but it also did hot air. I think it was a pie warmer. That's bloody awesome. Now that's good design, is that? I like that. The one Superman, bit late now, but has your arm healed from all that grinding? Yeah, the right arm's not too bad. It's not too bad. Elbow's the worst. However, left elbow has now started the same problem. So I think Andy's just getting old. That's all it is. I just ignore it. That's not a bad pie, actually. It's a lot better than the mince one. I actually intended to buy 2 steak ones, but in my rush, I just grabbed 2 off the shelf, and I thought they were both the same. The CRV has a picnic table in the boot too. Honestly, that's brilliant. Very impressed by that. So, busy eating my pie, drinking my cold coffee. I think I've pretty much covered everything that we've not really discussed what I did during the week. So, what did I do during the week? I was at home Tuesday. No, Tuesday. I think Tuesday I did a dealer visit, actually, from memory. Just bear with me, and I'll try and remember. No, Tuesday I was at home. That's right. Wednesday morning. Yes, worked at home on Tuesday. Because actually I was in the workshop on Tuesday. Obviously doing work stuff. Wednesday went to go and see one of the dealers in the morning. Drove up to Auckland in the afternoon. Got to HQ. Thursday. No, I think it was Wednesday night. God, I forget. I went to go and see the seamstress and pick up a pair of leggings for Holly that had been modified. And then Thursday. I did a bit of admin work Thursday. And I had to go and pick up the aluminium, which is a bit of a palaver because the traffic in Auckland was just mental for some reason. It took me ages to get there. And then Friday morning, Ben's ute. There we go. So Ben was about to order a ton of stuff, actually a kit online for all the steering ball joints on his ute because it failed the warrant of fitness on every single joint. So the drop arm off the steering box has a ball joint on it. That failed. The steering idler bushes were good, but again, the integral ball joint was a fail, so you had to get one of those. And it's got a steering box on this vehicle, so it's got basically 4 more ball joints within the steering. Yes, it's got inners and outers, and then it's got the one on the idler and one on the box. So all in all, he had to spend quite a bit. But I said, look, don't order it online because there's a good chance it's going to be the wrong one. And then it would have been actually because he was looking at a 4-wheel drive ute, and his is only a 2-wheel drive. And they do seem to change quite a bit year from year as well. I think Ford hadn't quite made up their mind what they were going to use. So we ended up going to 3 different suppliers all over bloody Auckland, but we did manage to get everything he needed. So that afternoon, I dropped him off about lunchtime. We went to get a pie first, had a pie together, a bit of a chat, and then dropped him off at home. And the original plan was for me to bring his ute down on the Friday night and then fit all the parts and take it back on Tuesday when I go back to Auckland, or Wednesday, whenever it's going to be. But the reason for that is, steering's quite important, so I wanted to make sure it was right for him. But after we had a long talk in the car whilst driving around picking up all the bits, he seemed to be quite competent in doing it himself. So I ran through the procedure of what he needed to do and how to set up the wheel alignment, approximately before, so he could drive the vehicle for a proper wheel alignment. He's got a friend that has a wheel alignment place, so that was easy. And I think the wheel alignment's getting done on Tuesday when they're open again, and then he'll take it for the retest on the warrant on the Wednesday. He's tightened up the handbrake, which is another fail, excessive travel, and there was a brake light bulb out as well. But that was it. So it wasn't too bad other than the steering joints. But all up, cost him, for the steering idler, the drop arm for the steering box, and the 4 ball joints, inners and outers, it cost him $270 all up, which I thought wasn't too bad. We got a bit of discount in a few places, so he was quite happy. And it's a bloody good ute, to be honest. It really is. Hang on a minute, got to rewind here. There we go. There we go. Sorry, I'm just catching up. Scott's.net. Hey, Andy. Did you see a GTSR W1 Maloo ute sold for over $1 million in Australia last week? I didn't. That's just ridiculous. $1 million. Wow. Somebody has far too much money, or did have. Mike Adams, I'm with you, Andy. I'll be 49 in March. Wow, we're almost the same age. I'm 3rd of April. My dad told me getting older would be like this. Damn it. Why did he have to be right? Well, I know. I remember when I was a teenager, I thought I was invincible. I mean, I was quite a strong lad, and I definitely matured physically a bit quicker than most of my classmates. But I used to pick up motorcycles, just holding the rear shock, or the frame if it was a monoshock, and the down tube on the thing, and just pick the bike up and put it in the ute. And that was at the age of sort of 17, 18. And I've always picked things up that are way too heavy to be picked up, to be honest. But I must have been in the last sort of 3 years, I would say, maybe 2 years. I really, ever since my dirt bike spat me off on the gravel, things have really started to ache. But that's just age, isn't it? And fair's fair. I've done a lot over the years. I can't complain. My body's been extremely reliable. It's done nearly 49 years, and if I'd been a car, I'd have been on the scrap heap many, many years ago. I know that. So you just got to knuckle down and get on. Things are fine. Things might take a little bit longer to do nowadays than what they used to do. But, I do wonder though. I mean, my plan is to get to 100 years old. That's my aim. If I can get to 100, I'll be really, really happy. Highly unlikely it's going to happen. So really, I'm only halfway, just about halfway. So I'm just thinking, Christ, how slow am I going to be in the next 10, 20, 30 years? Spriggy, my wife's car has AC in the glove box. I guess it's to keep drinks cool. I suppose if you run the AC on hot, you can warm a pie. That's brilliant. Connor, Holly legging modifications. Oh yeah. Well, she needed a second pair because she got the first pair really grubby on day one filming, and she wanted a clean pair for the Sunday, so she had to go back to the old style. And the number of people that noticed that the Sunday's filming, she didn't have the zip on the leggings, the emergency access thing, was incredible. It took me ages to reply to them all. So obviously it was time to get a second pair done just as a backup. Steve, whoosh, modified leggings for Holly. Tell us more, lol. Honestly, you guys are terrible. The one Silverman. Same with my dad's Hilux. Yes, very similar setup to be fair. Although Ben's is independent on the fronts, whereas most Hiluxes, or the ones that I've worked on, the 4-wheel drive ones obviously, had the beam axle, the banjo axle across the front. One Silverman also has 150 watt mains power in the center console. My Ford Ranger has that. It has a 240 volt AC outlet that I use on a regular basis to charge my laptop. while I'm driving, which is really, it's very, very useful actually. I do like it. And the center box, it does get quite cold in there, so maybe that is linked to the aircon. I'll have to go online and find out if it is or not. It definitely has a fan that blows air, cold air, around, whether it's AC cold air or just, I don't know. It probably is AC. I'll have to have a look. But it's pretty cool. Keeps your sandwiches sort of crisp for the day, you know, whilst you're driving. As soon as you stop driving, it warms up. Connor, 56 in March. Wow. Hate to say it, but it's a downhill slide. Thanks, Connor. Made my day. Michael Moran, you have a lot of lights in your workshop. I have to have a lot of lights in my workshop because A, I can't see very well anymore, and B, I do a lot of filming, so it's a lot more than just a standard workshop. You need a lot of light for your camera. Otherwise, it sort of dumbs it down and pixelates too much, and also the frame rate seems to slow down. So, you know, when you've got assistants in the workshop like Holly as well, as Steve would agree, you need plenty of lighting to capture everything on camera. That sounded terrible. Tom James, do you think they'd paint Binky that colour? No, I had no. What's he gone for? He's gone for off-white, hasn't he? Like a milky white. Very traditional, actually, for sort of rally cars and stuff is white, isn't it? I think the old Ford Escorts, the Mark 1s and 2s, there quite a few of those were white when they were rallying. And it looks good with the decals. So I don't know what decals, if maybe they aren't, I don't know. But I always think that white rally cars with the decals always look the best. That's my opinion. But no, I mean, they did a fantastic job with the paintwork, didn't they? All that pearlescent squares on the roof. And the sort of very discreet logos in the paint on the sides as well. I mean, that there's some real skill there. I could never. Man, if I can get the whole thing covered in paint, I've done a good enough job. And if there's not too many runs, I'm happy. That's my level of painting. It's terrible. But no, Tom, Project Binky, what a machine. Only looks like a couple more episodes left. I know it'll be the end of an era, won't it, once Binky's done. John, hi Andy. Good morning, John. How are you, mate? Simon, AC from inverters can play hell with some electrics. Oh, that's good to know. I mean, the old laptop seems to cope fine. I've still got half a pie to go up. Yes, I had a case a while ago, nearly 4 years ago actually. It was an inverter generator, you know. So it was a petrol engine producing 240 volt AC output. God, the cheese is like paste in there now. And the guy was running off it. It was, I'm sure it was some kind of equipment to produce hydrogen. And it kept, the inverter generator then kept failing. It wasn't the engine, it was the main board kept blowing. Every 3 or 4 months it would blow the main board. And on the third occasion, I had everything inspected and checked. I had his equipment checked, and I had the inverter checked, and it turned out to be a problem where the equipment, the draw on the equipment was a certain frequency, and the sampling from the inverter to test for it to recognize the load it was being put under by the equipment was at a frequency which wasn't compatible, basically, to try and put it in a nutshell. I don't really understand it. It's a bit outside automotive, to be honest. But basically it meant that the board didn't see the full load, and as a result, maybe didn't increase the revs enough on the generator or something, and it was causing a problem which made the board fail on a regular basis. So in the end, it turned out that the generator, like the inverter, was not compatible with his equipment. So he had to go and buy a different brand, basically. It's one of those things. John, I'm good. Had my COVID vaccination today. What the hell? Yeah, they're getting rolled out, aren't they? Pretty good. So yeah, I've only fixed a couple of generators over the years. Yanmar ones mainly. Did an engine rebuild on one of those. Pretty simple. Ran for years. Good generator actually. So, what's coming up for the next week? Well, it's a little bit in flux. Get it? Flux. But we've got a bank holiday on Monday, tomorrow. So I really want to get to the point where all these brackets are ready for cleanup. So Mrs. Mechanic can do them during the week, which would be nice. I'll leave all the gear out for her and she can just come in and do, 20 a day or something, just break it up. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Tuesday, I think I'm at home. Wednesday, I've got to go back up to Auckland. I might go and do a couple of dealer visits on Wednesday and then go up to Auckland on the Thursday, actually, if all goes to plan. And then the week after, I've got a week off. I booked a whole week off work, most unlike me, so I've got more holidays coming. And the plan is to finish the carport. And I might even be able to squeeze a couple of videos in at the same time because, sometimes it gets too hot outside to be working. So maybe in the afternoon I can do a video. I've got a couple of sort of standalone videos to do, so they're not part of a series. One is, again, going back to Ben's ute. Do you remember it came in and we suspected big end failure? Turned out to be the fan belt. Classic. It just shows how badly you can diagnose something over the phone, isn't it? Just listening to the noise. It sounded just like a big end rasp, I swear. Now, the fan belt powered the alternator and the water pump. And of course, at some point in time, either the water pump or the alternator had seized, the belt had become stationary, and the crankshaft pulley had worn a ton of... In fact, it's over there, hang on. I will get around to eating my pie, promise. So where is it? There we are, look. So you can see there, look, it's basically just burnt away part of the belt because the belt's been stationary to do that. And that would have happened around the crankshaft pulley. So I suspected the alternator. We took the belt off, spun the alternator, it felt fine. Little bit noisy, no movement in the bearings, spun okay, like I say, water pump spun fine. So we sort of took a punt. He just bought himself a parts ute, and so we took the alternator off that, identical, fitted that, and he's had no more problems, and he has been checking it on a regular basis. So I suspect it was the alternator that had failed. It must have seized up for some reason. So maybe a bearing is starting to collapse. One of the cages has just got, a bit of the cage has got jammed in the bearing or something. So I want to do a video stripping that alternator down just as an autopsy to see if we can find anything. It's not going to go back together, I don't think. You can buy a new aftermarket alternator for only a couple of $100, so it's not really worth fixing anyway. And chances are, it's probably the original alternator for new. It's a 1992 ute. It's probably flogged out, to be honest. It's done quite a few Ks, that thing. So we'll do an autopsy video on that. And of course, there's a toolbox tour video to do. So that'll be fun to do with the toolbox tour for sure. So I'll try and squeeze those in, certainly during that week. But yeah, we're pretty busy at the moment. But other than that, next week, that's about it really. On the way down from Auckland on the Friday, I've got to call in at Max Burt Timber Yard. Hopefully they'll be open on the Friday. And I've got to pick up a load of decking because I'll have the big trailer with me. Because the decking is what we're going to use as the timber for the top of the carport for the sort of planking. And then once all that's in place, then we're going to put some corrugated iron, some posh steel sheeting, probably colour steel or something on there, So that's the plan. I've got a week to do all of that. I've still got a few brackets to make up. So they'll get done first, painted and put on. So yeah, lots to do. But I reckon we can easily get it done in a week and still have a bit of time left over. One Superman. Supposedly the vaccine wears off after a few months, even with the reboost. Really? Oh, well, that's not very good. Springy, didn't realise how bad my eyes were until I had an eye test last year. Now I have my first pair of glasses and can see stuff clear as day close up and nicely sharp at a distance. Oh, varifocals. Wow. Whenever I go for my eye test, and the problem with my eyes, it's not the lens as such. When I was 15, I got conjunctivitis in both eyes. And essentially, I was blind for a couple of weeks. It was like having sandpaper in your eyes, you know, like somebody was constantly putting sand in your eyes. It was really gritty and it just very painful. And you couldn't open your eyes, and they're just watering all the time, and they're all bloodshot. And what it did is it causes scarring on the surface of the lens of your eye. Now, obviously, that's being compounded by the fact that I spend most of my time in a workshop grinding and stuff. And as some of you well know, I got another piece of metal stuck in my eye only a few months ago. And that's happened a few times over the years, and it doesn't do your eyes any good, to be honest. So glasses won't help. Problem. Contact lenses don't help. Another problem. We've tried all of it. It just doesn't really make any difference because there's scarring on the surface of the lens. Now, I was told what would work would be a cornea transplant. No thanks. Not really particularly game for that. And the other one that would work, laser surgery doesn't work because they basically peel back the top layer of your lens, do the lasery stuff, and then flap it back. Well, it's the flappy bit that's got the scarring in it, so that wouldn't work. But what would work, so I'm told, is acid. Yes, I know. We've been told from day one, growing up, don't get acid in your eyes. Well, yes. They now charge you to put acid in your eyes, telling you it's going to fix your eyesight. And what it does is they must put some kind of sort of a tube over your eyeball, over the lens, and obviously somehow fix your eye in position with some little clamps, probably little probes that go into the white. Nice. And then they put some acid in there for a set period of time. And what that does is it eats away the top layer of the lens, which is what I've got that's scored and damaged. And then when it grows back, it's supposed to grow back nice and smooth, hence eyesight fixed. So I've really got the option at the moment. One is to have acid poured in my eyes, which I really don't want to do. And the other one is a cornea transplant, which I really, really don't want to do. So at the moment, and I know I'm good for driving for another 9.5 years because I did the eyesight test not too long ago, renewed my license. Maybe a year ago now, actually. Don't know. Maybe that'll be enough. Maybe I won't be driving after another 10 years. We'll wait and see. Either that, or I do what most Kiwis do and just keep driving without a license. It's amazing how many people do that. It's unreal over here. So yeah, eyesight, mine's a hard one to fix, unfortunately. Simon, a quick fix is to put a motor in line as an inverter, generates square wave type, and the motor takes the humps more to a sine wave, more to an AC sine wave. Well, that's interesting. Obviously, it's not quite as efficient, but it solves the problem, doesn't it? One Superman, Andy, what software do you use for editing? I still use the same software that I started using about 6 months into having the channel, which is Power Director 14. I know, it's old. Pretty stable, hardly ever crashes. It's really, really good. I'm going to have to replace my Photoshop though, because that started to do some really weird stuff. So really only good for doing the thumbnails, and then it sort of dies on me. So I've got to sort that out. But yeah, Power Director 14. Yes, there's some much newer ones around now, newer versions of that software. Yes, I could upgrade. But one of the things that I'm adamant about is the PC that I use for editing and manipulating all my files to do with the videos is not on the internet. It's a standalone PC. And that's because I just can't risk losing all those files. And if you get a virus into it, it could rain havoc with all the hard drives and stuff. So I keep that completely separate. I know it's not fail safe, but it certainly helps. But yeah, am I due an upgrade? Hey, I know how it works. I don't do any real fancy editing. I don't need to. The videos are not about that. Quite happy with it, to be honest. And it was on special when I bought it, on special offer. It was 100 New Zealand dollars, reduced down from like 250 or 300. So it was like I remember it was like an Easter weekend special. So I just ordered it, and I ordered the standalone one. So it came in a box with an installation disc. I've still got it somewhere. It's very good. Jim Haynes, did you ever have a shop in Auckland, and how did you decide to move where you are now? Was it because of the shop? No, I never. I didn't have. I've never had my own business here in New Zealand, other than my own sort of workshop where I would do some outwork. Bought this house like 20 years ago when I was still in England. It's the only house I've ever owned, to be honest. I'm not really a big house buyer. I dread to think how much money I've spent over the years on rent. It's been ridiculous. But when we first came to New Zealand, we couldn't live here because A, there were tenants already in it, but B, there's no work down this area. Not really, not the kind of work that I'd be looking for. So I had to be based in Auckland. And of course, living in Auckland, you'd have to rent. Plus the kids wanted to be at school in Auckland, that kind of thing, and there's a lot more to do up there. So it was a natural choice, be it very expensive. So it wasn't, we made it work. Mrs. Mechanic, was working at the same time, and the income wasn't bad. So it wasn't a huge sacrifice for us. But I moved down here once the kids all moved out, and so we ended up with this large house. So we decided, hey, maybe now's the time to move down to the cottage. And I saved, but by moving here, I saved probably about $1,000 a week, which is a lot of money. It's made a big difference. It's allowed me to do a lot more stuff. So yeah, very happy about that. But there is a lot more driving involved. So, there's pros and cons to the whole thing. I've managed to keep hold of, or to continue the servicing on the Surf Club vehicles. And that's one of the reasons why I bought the big trailer, so I can transport 2 ROVs at once. And that sort of made it doable. That combined with the fact that I'm going up to Auckland at least every other week anyway for work, meant that I can transport those vehicles without any additional journey time, really. So that was all right. But no, I think the main reason why I moved down here was I just didn't want to rent anymore. I was getting fed up with landlords not doing what they're supposed to do, and getting loads of grief, basically. So I thought, time is right. Let's move down there. It was a ball ache of a job moving. It took me quite a few. Well, I did. I took a few weeks off over Christmas to bring everything down, and I brought everything down myself. And I did 7,000 kilometers with the trailer, bringing stuff down. So there was, I don't know, quite a few runs, 17 or 18 runs or something down here. I did a run every day, basically, one run. So that was 7 hours driving, loading the trailer and unloading the trailer each day. Ben was a massive help. He's a good lad. Now, let's go back to Mike Adams. I was wondering, is occasionally running 2-cycle mixed gas in a 4-cycle engine a positive, negative, or neither for the engine? I've done it, but curious. I really can't see it being any kind of advantage whatsoever, in all honesty. Your 4-stroke engine's got plenty of oil everywhere that it needs it. It doesn't, all you're doing is just burning the oil and really creating carbon, and probably sooting up your spark plug as well. Ian Chalk. Know the feeling, Andy. Had stealing my eyes 3 times over the years, welding and grinding. It's not nice, is it? No. And if you get a blob of molten weld in your ear, that's quite scary as well. It sort of bounces around and hisses, and you're not too sure how far down it's going to go. Drew, Mike Adams, do you have a cat? It's going to be a negative. I can't see any reason for running 2-stroke oil in a 4-stroke. No, me neither. Springy, holy smoke, Andy. I didn't feel bad about wearing specs at 53 now. Ouch. It's all right, mate. It's all right. It's amazing, actually, how good your brain gets at working out images. You know, the input through your eyes, even though it's a bit blurry, I can actually still read at quite a good distance, and I think it's my brain's sort of adapted to try to. I mean, only in English. If it was a foreign language, it probably wouldn't work. But in English, it sort of, even if you can only pick out 3 or 4 of the letters in a word, it sort of seems to work out within the meaning of the sentence what that word is. It's pretty cool, actually. It doesn't always work, but it does. I mean, I can road signs and street signs. I can read them loads better than Mrs. Mechanic, and my eyesight's a lot worse than hers is. So it's bizarre. It really is. The Once of Man. I know this sounds weird, but I could edit your videos for you for free. Oh wow! I use DaVinci Resolve 16. Okay, all right. I'm quite happy with that. I really am. Any help that you want to put forward, the better. That would be great. So what I'll do, if you could send me an email and just remind me about that. Now, I know I've already got your email address, but send me a fresh email through. What I'll do is I'll make a video and I'll upload the rushes to a Google Drive. I'll upload all the artwork, you know, the little logo that goes at the bottom, the intro, the credits at the end. I'll upload the Photoshop files for doing the thumbnail. I'll put everything on there in this one folder for you, and then you can have a play around and let's see what you come up with. So maybe I'll do that with the alternator video. That would be pretty cool. And yeah, I mean, if you're happy to help, I mean, it's a lot of time, mate. As you well know, if you edit videos, usually for me, I mean, I'm you know, I tend to be a bit slow at this kind of stuff, but for a video that ends up being 1 hour long will take me at least 2 hours to edit. At least 2 hours to edit. Because at the end of the day, you at least watch the video, but you're also watching the full rushes. So the rushes, it might be 2 hours of the rushes, which is chopped down to an hour video. But you know, let's see what you come up with. One of the other things to bear in mind as well, which and many people have put forward, well, a few people have put forward the offer of editing videos for me. Even Mrs. Mechanic, I was going to train up to edit the videos because that would take a lot of pressure off me. Sometimes when it's a technical video, which you need to know a bit about the content in order to be able to edit it. If it was just somebody that edits videos without any automotive knowledge, they might miss some really critical points. So it makes it on some videos it's just easier for me to edit it myself because I know what I'm trying to say. I'm sure you understand what I'm trying to say. Going back. Okay, so yeah, do that please. That'd be great. Drew, definitely wear something above safety squints when using power tools. Yeah, I mean, when I'm grinding, full face mask. If I'm doing a lot of drilling, full face mask, or just a little bit, I'll just use the glasses. But I won't grind with the glasses. I might use a flat disc with just the glasses, but if I'm cutting or using the grinding disc where I know there's big chunks of metal flying around, then it's full face mask. And I need to buy a new one actually because it's getting quite opaque on the screen. They don't seem to last very long. Mike Adams, no, don't have a cat, but do have a dog. Me too. The only time I've ever done mixed gas in a 4-cycle is in the lawnmower or garden tiller when I ran out of regular gas to finish up a job. Oh, I think we've all done that. Simon, Mike Adams, sticky piston rings can happen to if you do it a lot. John Dwyer, you should film the trailer inspection. Trailer inspection. Yeah, should do really. Big Rock, have to run. Enjoyed the live stream. Thanks, Andy. Cheers, Big Rock. Let me know how you get on with choosing your new ROV to replace your Rhino. And like I say, contact Jim K. I'm sure Jim and you can get in contact. If you're struggling to get hold of Jim's contact details, then flick me an email and I'll ask Jim that he's happy for them to be passed on, and then we'll do it that way. But no, Jim will be very, very helpful, I'm sure. Mike, Drew Desley. Now, if you're referring to the Kenworth, it doesn't have a cat. It has a 500 horsepower, 1,550 pounds of torque, and 1,200 RPM Cummins. 1,200 RPM, wow. That's like the idle speed of most bikes. Drew Desley, Mike Adams. I have never found a petrol pump that serves 2-stroke. I have a diesel and petrol mix in the mower. I've had diesel and petrol mix in the mower, and it is a carb strip and clean job. Yeah, that's not good. Purple Monkey, 1974. Is Mrs. Mechanic a Kiwi? She isn't. We're both Yorkshire. Steve, avoid glasses at all costs. There's such an impediment when working. I'd be tempted to take the scary acid treatment if I could get rid of my glasses. Well, a friend of mine, when they were trialing the acid treatment, he put his name down. Ian lives in Scotland now, good friend of mine. Hi Ian, if you're watching. He tells me he'd had that done and his eyesight was fantastic afterwards. He was really happy he'd had it done, and it didn't cost him anything because it was a trial. But could you imagine if it went wrong? He was a lucky chap. One Silverman, I sent an email. Thank you. Hopefully it's the right one. Okay, let's have a look. Inbox. Nothing yet. Nothing has plinked through yet. I'll let you know if it does. Right, Drew Dastardly has commented for Mike Adams, but it's got a word in there that YouTube's picked up on, so it's been held for review. So I'm going to read it out and modify it slightly. Mike Adams, low compression diesel engines will take anything. Look at the Soviet ZIL 133, which I used to have. I did. I had a ZIL 133. Oh. No, mine was a ZIL 131. Military 6x6, but it only does 5 miles per gallon. Yes, it's horrific on fuel. It was. Runs on soldiers' used vodka too, lol. Connor K. And that was a I believe it was from memory, it was a V8, and we ran it on petrol. But once it had fired up, you could actually run it on diesel. So I was told. We never tried it. So I'm sure it run all sorts of stuff. But it was horrifically heavy on fuel. Connor K. Richard Hammond talked about sign wordage recognition, even if you don't catch all the letters. Way back in the Top Gear days, he interviewed a woman from British Roadworks. He did, and I remember seeing that. Yes. So maybe Mrs. Mechanic just hasn't got that, because she does struggle with the old road signs a bit. I remember watching that. It was really cool, the way that they chose just the right font. And that, yeah, it was interesting. And actually, I used to have a book, and I think I brought it with me somewhere, which I bought from the like the government library, government publications. You could get it, that has all the road signs in it, and the designs and specs and where they had to be positioned on the roads. And the reason why I did that was because we used to go green laning, and the councils especially national parks, were a bit slack on their positioning of remember the motorcycle over the car, which basically meant no motorcycles or cars anymore on this old road. Well, sometimes they just slap it on a gate post, or actually on the gate itself, or on one side of the road. And that didn't comply. It had to be, if it's on one side, it had to be on the other side at the same height and the same distance from the road. There was some quite strict criteria. So we would just go and use the road anyway, because the sign didn't comply. In my mind, it didn't count. It wasn't an official sign, so we ignored it. And I could refer back to this publication and give them the page and all the reference numbers and stuff, and even send them the information if need be. They hated me. The national parks hated me with a vengeance. But it was just a big chess game, really. Simon, if you do get the Lend of Ben's TIG, have sleeves on it. Rayburn is worse than sunburn. Good to know. Yes, I've got some long TIG gauntlets. So yeah, I'll fold my shirt down, I think, for that. Thanks, Simon. Michael Moran, are the pubs open in New Zealand? They're closed in Ireland for months. Yes, every pub in New Zealand is as open can be and ready to serve you right now. Get yourself to New Zealand. Honestly, it's a great place. Connor, in fact, they should do a tourist as soon as the vaccines are out there. They should just, to get the tourist thing going, they should just promote New Zealand pubs and how good they are and the fact that they're all open, and we get loads of tourists here, I'm sure. What a great campaign that would be. Connor K, in the maritime industry, CAT stands for can't afford that. Reasonable purchase price and outrageously expensive replacement parts. I've never worked on a CAT, Connor, so I couldn't comment there, but that's interesting to know. John, I'm going to build a car carrying trailer. Twin or triple axle, any ideas? Now, triple axle there's a lot of disadvantages to it, and I don't really see what the advantages are proper. With a twin axle trailer, the trailer can still tilt, and when through road undulations and dips in the road, the nose of the trailer, the hitch, will still go down and back up again. With a triaxle trailer, I've noticed that that's a lot less. So the trailer has a lot more influence on the back of the towing vehicle. So you're going over the undulations and the trailer pretty much sits level. It doesn't tilt to follow the road as well. So it can, for 1 minute, it can be lifting the back of the ute up. So it's got negative hitch weight at this point, and it's pulling up on the ball, which is a really bad thing. It takes the weight off your rear tires. And if it's a wet day, the Ranger absolutely hates it. The traction control goes ballistic. And then, in other cases, the trailer, it can pitch right down and push the ute down. Now, being a 1-ton ute, the springs can take it. It's not a problem. But if that trailer was behind a car with a lot softer suspension, it would push it down. And especially when you're driving the trailer empty and, there's no real movement on the suspension, on the springs on it, and it's leaf springs, the ute is constantly vibrating. It's banging around all the time. And if I'm on the phone and I have hands free in there, it's actually, believe it or not, sometimes so bad that I can't even talk properly on the phone, and people can't understand me at the other end because I'm like going over the bumps. And seriously, I'm not making it up. That's exactly what it's like. I had quite a few large, in fact larger than this one, longer, twin axle Eiffel Williams, and there was nothing like that. It didn't have that effect whatsoever. So if you're going to go for a triaxle, it's going to be a lot more expensive to build because you've got a whole extra axle, and axles are one of the most expensive parts, if not the most expensive part of building a trailer. But I think there's some pretty big downsides as well. What are the advantages? Well, maybe it's a little bit more stable at high speed, a little bit less likely to sway, but you do need hitch weight to stop it swaying, just like with any trailer. These trailers, just incidentally, don't have toe in on the axles, which is common in some countries. English trailers, there is no toe. We rely on hitch weight, having more weight forward of the axle than behind the axle to prevent the trailer from swaying around. And you know, you can load them up pretty. They say about 100 kgs hitch weight, but you know, I've put 300, 400, 500 kgs hitch weight, and the trailer, the more hitch weight you put on, the more stable that trailer is. To the point where if I've only got one ROV on the trailer, I'll just stick it right at the front. So the whole, you know, the weight of the ROV is shared between the trailer's axle and the hitch. I mean, the ROVs only weigh about 850 kgs, so half of it, there's maybe 400 kgs hitch weight. It's just not a problem. The hitch can certainly cope with it. It just doesn't cause an issue. And it tows, there's never a hint of swaying around at all. So I would do some more research, but my opinion is you don't need a triple axle trailer. I'd be really interested to find out what the supposed benefits are of a triaxle. I haven't really seen that, other than actually one thing that it does do better is when I leave home, I often turn the trailer around and I have to go over a curb. And going over a curb is lovely and smooth because it's got the 3 wheels, not the 2. A twin axle would drop down and there'd be a lot more of a bang when it came off the curb. That's probably one of the main benefits. Obviously, if you're going on soft ground as well, it's a benefit. You know, it's going to spread the load a bit more. But it does scrub quite a bit, obviously, when you're doing a tight turn. So hopefully that's answered your question there, John. A bit of research, mate, and let me know how you get on, because it's interesting for me to get some feedback on that. You've picked a subject which I'm quite keen to know more about. Drew, oh my God, I always wanted one, even though the top speed was 50 miles. I would never have driven mine at 50 miles an hour. No way, Jose. I believe a ZIL could be imported as farm equipment. Yes, ours was registered as a farm vehicle, and the gentleman I bought it from is in England. He was down south somewhere. And you paid him the money, he got on a plane, flew to Russia, bought the machine, drove it back to England. Unbelievable. Can you imagine how much it cost in fuel to drive it back from Russia back to the UK? And I bought one and it cost me £2,000. He must have paid like a £5 for the truck for it still to be viable to sell one. It was incredible. Ours had a terrible ignition fault. Unfortunately, so much of its life that I had it didn't run. The guy sent me various components. We knew it was spark related. At the time, I wasn't that good at doing ignition diagnostics. Everything was in Russian. There was no service manual available for it that I could get my hands on, that I could even understand. So I sort of gave up with it. It was a nice feature for the garden. And then we decided we had to sell it. I got really upset. You know, I kept pushing the guy. Because it failed pretty early on. We only had it a couple of weeks and it died. So he said, look, I'll fix it for you under warranty. And eventually he came up and brought a completely new ignition system off another vehicle. That was the module that ran it, new distributor, you know, everything, coils, the lot was replaced, and it started fine. And then we just sold it, gone. And we got our money back for it, which wasn't too bad. Mike. Drew Dansley, yes, I knew about the diesel in gas fiasco. A neighbour brought her walk behind Troy built with a Briggs and Stratton engine. Someone filled with diesel. I got cleaned out and running easily. Oh, wow. Simon, yes, a copper got off with speeding over the signage not being on both sides of the road. Yes. Don't think it applies here in New Zealand, because if it does, well, the guys that put the signs up are pretty bad, because there's the vast majority of the signage here. Yes, there might be one on each side of the road, but there can be 3 or 4 feet difference in height. But I've never actually applied for the same book over here. I don't really have any cause to. But yeah, in the UK, very strict stuff, and it's very easy to get off a ticket if the signage doesn't meet the requirements. John Nuttall, I cut a car sill off with a disc cutter. The rear door glass was covered with molten steel specks. Damn, but glad I had goggles on. Yeah, I've done that a lot with the scrap Jeeps when we were cutting those up. Sometimes I'd need something pretty quick and didn't have time to take the glass out. And sure enough, you can speckle the glass with the grinding sparks. And then over time, it then starts to rust, and it just. I think there's a little bit of that on the old Patron we've got here actually. Holy moly! Nearly 2 hours. What's going on? Crazy. Springy Maximus Iron Thumper on YouTube has a Zill 6x6. It's a really interesting beast. I think I've seen that. It was down his garden. If this is the right one, it was down his garden and they got it fired up. Was the video that I saw. But yes, they are awesome machines, way ahead of the time. Onboard tyre inflation system, whilst on the move, may I add. So you can set your tyre pressures as you're driving. So as you're approaching some boggy ground, you can lower the tyre pressure without having to stop. That's very cool. Such an old machine. Really, really cool. We did take it off-road a couple of times. I sort of saved up for the fuel. By no means as capable as the Unimog. Absolutely not. The drive to the rear wheels, even though it's 6x6, you've still got open diffs on both rear axles, from memory. There was a diff lock for the front axle. Oh, sorry. Actually, no, there was just... normal road driving was 6x4, so just the rear four wheels driven. And then going off road, you could engage the front axle, but it was still an open diff. So ultimately, you know, not all 6 wheels were driven permanently. They were through open diffs. It was out in the snow, so, you know, obviously that had an effect on traction. It didn't take long for me to get it stuck. And, you know, I consider myself quite a good off-road driver. Done a fair bit over the years. And, yeah, had to call in the old Unimog, get it pulled out. But I've been places in the Mog that the Zill wouldn't even dream of going, to be honest. Fun machine, don't get me wrong, and very different. And quite a privilege to own one with a lot of history around the Cold War and everything. Mine was a decontamination unit, which had a 6.5, I think it was a 6,500 litre tank on the back. And that was meant for, obviously, some kind of spray down liquid, or maybe just water. We used it for water a couple of times. And then it had some, like, sort of boxes down either side. I think there were 3 boxes on each side. You could open up the door. And in there, because it was straight out of the warehouse, it still had all the big rubber gloves in there. It had some pipes. It was weird. Honestly, just going through it all, it was like going back in time. The front leaf springs still had the grease-proof paper. They were all smeared in grease and had grease-proof paper wrapped around the leaf springs for storage. And it had done, I think it had done about 700 and something kilometers when we got it. So obviously you'd just driven it from Russia to the nearest ferry, got the ferry to Hull, which was the nearest port to where I was, and then driven it up from there. So yeah, he'd done about 7. I mean, I'm assuming it had done very little in storage, so he'd done about, I don't know, 600 kilometers to get it from where he bought it from to me for delivery. So yeah, he used a bit of fuel to get that done. Drew Dassley, Andy, you were a Zill pioneer. No worries. I had a lot of fun with that machine. I even made a big tow bar at the back for it. Daniel Bedell, hello Andy. Good morning, Daniel. Good to have you on board, mate. We're going into record time at the moment. Drew, the UK councils are so damn strict in enforcing fines that it's only fair to fight back on their obsessive restrictions. I agree completely. If they have these requirements, then they should stick to them. And, you know, same for the public. They give us speed limits, so if the speed limit sign should be at least put up correctly. Drew Dassley, broken, unmaintained yellow lines can easily be defeated. That's good to know. There's often quite a bit of that in New Zealand. Simon Roll, John Nuttall done that on a window a window in the flat we rented. The landlord was very upset, but he was. Roger Heaps. Good morning, Roger. Don't know about permanent signs, but temporary roadworks must meet certain criteria. Very few are correct. Technically easy to get off tickets. Good to know. I'll need to do some more research. This could be a get out of jail free card, this one. John Dwyer. Hit the thumbs up, guys. You should do it automatically. What are we up to? 40 viewers and 43 thumbs up. So appreciate, probably be rambling on a little bit. We do go off topic, but this is quite interesting, I think. The one civil man. Thank you, John. Drew, Andy, please tell me the Zill didn't come from... I hope not. Isn't that where the where there was that nuclear disaster? Yes, I think so. I hope it didn't. I never put a Geiger counter on it, so I don't know. Daniel, I ran 790 feet of electrical wires today. 2 rolls of 12 by 2 wire, 1 of 14 by 2 roll of wire, and about 40 feet of 6 by 3 wire in one house today alone. Mate, you work your ass off. Very impressed. Chi Kloveski. There you go. Good morning, mate. First watch. Well, welcome aboard, Chi. Daniel Beddle. I did all of that in 4 hours. Mate, you're a legend. Chernobyl. That's right. I have watched a few programs on Chernobyl. Very, very sad. I have a little story to add, but before I do that, I'm going to have one more bite of my pie because it's going to be stone cold now. Oh, cheers, mate. I do try. So, I think I've mentioned this before, but some things really stick in your mind. And so we have this off-road driving centre in the UK, and we've been going a few years. So I don't know the exact dates, but I got contacted by a group, and it was, I can't even remember what the group was called, but basically it turned out that they were taking a group of children from the village near the Chernobyl nuclear reactor that had been heavily affected by the fallout from that incident. And they were all terminally ill, and they wanted to bring them to England so they could have a holiday and do a few things before they went back home, basically, to pass away, which was very, very sad. And so they booked some of our 4-wheel drive vehicles, and they didn't want to drive themselves, the teachers or whatever that were bringing them across. So we provided some drivers as well. And the aim was to take them around the forest, do the off-road, through some water pools, and just have a bit of fun. Give them a nice time out for a couple of hours. And all of our 4-wheel drive vehicles, and obviously the instructors and down at base, everything was CB radio linked. We used CB radios as our radio communication. And they had 3 or 4 Jeeps. There was probably a group of, 8, maybe 10 children. And we took them out. I was one of the drivers. I wouldn't have missed that for the world, to be honest. And we had a couple of others, I think 3 other drivers taking them out. And once we got going, the kids, they didn't speak very well. They hardly spoke any English at all. But they soon realised what the CB radio was for. And I remember the young lad in the front grabbing the microphone, and he pressed the button and started talking. He realised, obviously, his friends were in the other Jeeps, so he wanted to talk to his friends. So he started this whole conversation going in Russian between the Jeeps. And the kids were loving it, talking on the radios. I mean, they completely destroyed our radio frequency for the rest of the site for a couple of hours, but hey, they were having fun. We I think they just changed channels back at base. But I remember, seeing them, and a lot of them had lost their hair because they were going through, chemo and that kind of thing. And just seeing these kids, every time we were about to go through a big water pool or up a steep hill or down a descent or whatever it was, and just waving at their mates in the other Jeeps, they were having a whale of a time. They really, really enjoyed it. And I remember when we got back to base, the teacher, one of the team lead or whatever, came up to the cabin to pay for the activity and thanked us so much for taking the kids out. And even though I was a really tight Yorkshireman, I could not bring myself to charge them for the activity. And I said, no, you can keep the money. It's, go and buy the kids some ice creams and stuff, But yeah, it was quite a sad day, to be honest. Daniel Beddle, sweet cherry pie. I don't know where that came from. Springy. ZIL assembled in Moscow, and some had rocket launcher tubes on the back. They did. I didn't know this. I looked it up on Google. The ZIL 131 that I had, the guy that I bought it off told me that they'd made 1 million of those vehicles. There was also a larger one, which had the same engine, but 2 of them, and the left-hand engine drove the left-hand side wheels, and the right-hand engine drove the wheels on the right-hand side of the vehicle. How weird is that? Honestly, you get a misfire on the left engine and suddenly you're off in the ditch. Daniel, apple or lemon meringue pie are my favourites. I don't mind a good lemon meringue pie, to be honest. Simon, just sweet pie. You guys are all pie mad. You know that. Mike Adams. Okay, you all. Been fun. But I've got to get back to work. You're not the only one, mate. I've got a lot to do today. Truck work is done. Other things to do outside. I'm running out of daylight. Catch you again next week. Cheers, Mike, and enjoy the rest of your day, mate. Chi, you're a good man. Well, there was no other choice, to be honest. Daniel, the sweet cherry pie was because you had to take a bite of your pie. It was. Sorry, mate. I was just enjoying my pie and I didn't put the 2 and 2 together. Nearly gone. So, wow. 2 hours and 7 minutes. What the hell? That's what I call value for money, lads and lasses. So, before I sign off, I'm going to have another cigarette as soon as I finish the pie. So now's the time. If you've got any more questions or if you want to tell me what you're doing next week, I think I've covered what I'm doing. Pretty busy. I can't wait to get onto the carport. That's going to be so good. Air conditioning. Just while I think on. I had a guy come down to look at the workshop and come up with an action plan of what kind of air conditioning, and it's going to be a heat pump that he put forward, which I think some of you mentioned. And I did some calculations. Let me find the calculations, actually. Timothy, got your email. Thank you very much. Sent items. Haven't sent many, so bear with me while I find it. Here we go. Right. This might take a few minutes to go through, but I need to know if I'm right or not. Because, obviously you've got to make sure that a supplier is quoting for the right stuff. So, a company based in Taupo came out, in fact, the chief engineer came out to look at the workshop, blah, blah, blah. And this is my email. So I'm going to read it out word for word because it's a bit complicated. And if I try and skip bits, it won't make any sense. Many thanks for the quotation. Given that this is a bit of an oddball install, I want to make sure that the heat pump we install is going to be both suitable for the working environment, it's a workshop, very dusty, and also capable of providing sufficient output to cooling and heating in the workshop. My main focus for installing the heat pump is for cooling purposes. The building is constructed of a concrete floor, wooden sides, and a corrugated iron roof. There is no insulation whatsoever, and to make matters worse, for cooling, the 2 metal garage doors face the sun for most of the day, radiating large amounts of heat into the workshop. The current situation makes it almost unbearable to work on hot days, especially when filming. The workshop size is 8.5 meters long, 6 meters wide, with an average roof height of 2.5 meters. It's a bit slopey, but that's about right. Therefore, the total volume is about 127.5 meters cubed. According to the HPAC website, and you can check that out if you want, HPAC, HPAC website, which gives advice on how to calculate the size of a heat pump required, it states. So I'm not going to read what they state, but I'm going to tell you my calculation and try and refer back to it. So, based on the above, I've done the following calculation. The workshop volume is 127.5 meters cubed times 44 watts. They say 44 watts for every meter cubed. That gives us an approximate heat pump rating of 5,610 watts. However, we have a window. It says to add 10% for a window and metal garage doors. So 10% on top of that comes up to 6,171 watts. Then it says to add 20% for no insulation, because obviously there's a lot of leakage. So adding another 20% gives us 7,293 watts. It gets better. Given I spend up to 10 hours a day in the workshop, not every day I may add, I'm going to class it as a living area. Also, being a workshop, when I'm welding, the heat produced over a period of time is sizable too, which will affect the overall cooling, and the heat pump will need spare capacity to overcome this. I don't want to be running the heat pump on maximum setting all the time. It should be able to achieve minimum temperatures at its mid-output level, allowing spare capacity to be used on extremely hot days or when welding all day long. I often weld up structural beams, which creates a lot of heat. Got a new shed planned. So, based on the above, the amount of 7,293 watts needs to be multiplied by 1.5. That's what you do if it's a living area, which gives the final total of 10,939.5 watts. The heat pump included in the quote only has a wattage rating of 5,000 watts, or 5 kilowatts. And heat, that's for cooling, and for heating, 6 kilowatts. I don't think this will be large enough based on the above calculation. I would much rather overcool the workshop than find the system we installed just can't keep the temperatures low enough. The working environment is also extreme. Much dust is generated in the workshop when grinding, sanding, etc. How will this affect the filters, and how much do they cost to replace? Sorry for all the questions, but I just want to make sure that the option we choose is both capable of cooling this workspace down to the minimum temperature, even when the outside temp is, say, 30 degrees C, and also suitable for use in such a harsh working environment. Right, so that covers my email. So that's given you lots of information about the workshop space, the size, and of course, you know as well as I do what workshops are like. If you look at the yellow beams in the workshop, you know they regularly get brushed down. There's a lot of dust builds up on those very, very quickly. So let me know what you think. Get rid of that. There we go. Ping. You know, if you've been involved in installation of air conditioning or heat pumps, then give me your take. Am I correct? I mean, I'm only going by what the HVAC, was it HVAC, the website, HPAC website information gave me. I'm not an expert in this field, so any kind of assistance would be helpful. But I'll underline this, whatever I install has to be durable for this working environment and needs to have spare capacity. I don't want the thing running flat out just to try and attain a reasonably cool temperature. It needs to have spare capacity for those really hot days when I'm welding. Hang on a minute, hang on. I'm getting there. Oh, sorry. Got to go back. Steve, one of our neighbours, does this for Chernobyl children a few times a year. Wow. It was sobering when my lad was younger and playing out with the kids and sharing his toys. We don't know how lucky we are. No, that one day really sent it home to me, to be honest, Steve. Daniel, it's all good, mate. No problem. One Silverman, thank you, Andy, for the editing opportunity. I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks again. No problem at all. I will. I'll respond to your email probably tonight. after I've done my day's welding. John, how is Mrs. Mechanic's car now? Mrs. Mechanic's car is going in for some body work because somebody drove into the back of her next week, and it's all going to be covered under insurance. It was quite a bit more serious than she first thought. The bumper basically had sprung back. The shut line on the tailgate was incorrect on the right hand side. It had closed up, and there was some structural damage behind the bumper, obviously, which is what I thought there would be. Now then, Simon, all I have on till now is a locking wheel nut removal and a brake job outside of my real job. Wow. Daniel, I'm almost done with one house. I'll send you a picture of the kitchen of this house on Facebook Messenger. I did see something pop through. Hang on. Daniel. Oh, wow. Wow, that's pretty cool. Look at that. He's done a nice job with that place, hasn't he? There's a bit more of a bigger picture. Very, very swish, mate. Man, you're going to be making some serious coin doing these jobs. Very impressed. Very impressed indeed. It's all about detail, isn't it? And quality stuff. Springy. Thank you, Andy. Oh, hang on. Wrong bit. It's been a blast. Peace and love to everyone. Thank you very much, Springy, for joining us. I'm sure some of you guys have been with me pretty much all morning, which is a very long 2 hours and 16 minutes of your life has gone with me rambling away. So thanks for joining us, Springy. See you next Sunday. Roger, new property. Yes, you sent me a message to say you're about to buy it. Probably didn't reply. Sorry, I probably just viewed it while I was at work. Has 100 square meter shop, lined carpet, etc. Wow. No water or toilet facilities. Wow. Any ideas on a use for this? Apparently a roller door on the side is not an option. Her rule. Oh no. That is fantastic. Good job, mate. Good job. You have to send me some pictures of your shop. Simon, you're going to need a power supply for the AC, as at 240 volts, 10 volts is about 25 amps. Yes, included in the quote is to finally wire up properly and finish the main power feed to the workshop with a 200 amp supply. In the quote, get it all done once, because again, that was my concern, that it's gonna pull. I wouldn't be able to do anything else but be cool. I couldn't weld and be cool at the same time. So all that it'd be futile to do it. We need to do everything at once, get it all done right. So you are quite right, Simon. And he's going to sort out the that sub distribution box and wire up the heavy cable and get all that done. I've still got to redo the conduit outside, and I'm hoping that the cut-off length of cable that I've got, I can run that inside as well and actually run 2 cables. To give us, I've already bought the cable, so why not? And then get, maximum supply to the workshop. Steve, great live stream as usual, mate. You're still here, Steve. I can't believe it. You must be a busy chap. Great live stream as usual, mate. Have a great week. See you next week. You're awesome. I'm nowhere near as awesome as you are, Steve. See you around, mate. Good luck. Enjoy your week. And good luck with those diagnostics. Daniel. There's 2 pics there. Yes, I showed both of them. John, is the pump not external to rear or fixed on the roof outside, so you have a lot of steel in their tools, lathe, etc.? There's 2 parts to the heat pump. You get sort of the plasticky thing, and I didn't like the fact it was plasticky thing anyway. There's a plasticky thing on the inside of the building, and then outside is the box with the fan. So I don't know what the plan is yet. We've not finally decided on an option, to be honest. I'm just a bit concerned that the heat pump design obviously draws air and cools it. If it's doing that, it's going to be drawing in the dust that's in here, and that's going to go through the filter and block it up pretty quickly. So it may well be that I just need to go for pure air conditioning and not heat for this system, in which case he said that we can then have just like the galvanized tube ducting in the workshop, blowing down the cool air, which is getting fresh air from the outside to cool to then deliver into the workshop. That's probably a far more sensible solution, because it would also work a bit like an extractor fan, where it's going to pressurize the workshop with this incoming air, and then the contaminated air, whether I've been spraying or whatever, is that could then be extracted using a fan and blown outside. I think that would be a better way of doing it. So it's work in progress. It's going to happen. Won't really know for the next few weeks what the final plan is. Obviously, it can't get too expensive, but it needs to be right. Daniel, that house has 2.5 baths. 2.5, brilliant. Connor K, calculated in watts and not BTUs. Yeah, I know. I just went with what's on the website. You could install Tyvek insulation panels on the inside of the garage doors. Lightweight, cheap to buy, and a good insulator. Problem is, Connor, as you guys see it, so easy just to go like that. That one is a roller door, whereas this one is a flat panel door. So the flat panel door, yes, no problem, could put some insulation on that quite easily. The roller door ain't going to work, is it? Unfortunately, and don't want to change the door to an up and over door like that one, because then you lose a lot of height inside the workshop. So it's honestly, there's just too much going on. We'll work it out. But no, good point. I could insulate one of the doors, but the point is, for me, I just want to get a cooling system in the workshop that is, well, like I said to the guy, I want the place to freeze over. I want it to be really cold if I want it to be really cold. You know, some days I just want to step into a fridge. I'm from Yorkshire. You know, a nice morning to me is about 3 degrees C. When you step out in the morning, it's fresh. You can see your breath. It's nice. Brendan, it's just started snowing really heavy here. Bastard, it's going to get really hot again here today. Simon, what about just the AC in and getting a space heater for cold days? Exactly my point. That may well be the case. We just go back to AC going in air conditioning and worry about the heat aspect with a different system. Honestly, that has to be a record. It's taken me nearly 2 hours to eat a pie. Connor K, never mind. Sorry, Connor. Good idea, though. Daniel, 2 baths, 2 full baths, and a powder room. Is that for your old musket? Funny. John Nuttall, are you not putting a carport over the doors? Yes, I am. Exactly, I am. And then the heat won't radiate on the doors as much. So that should cut down a bit on that. But realistically, I don't really think that anything in that calculation takes into account that one of the walls, and it's a sizable area, has that particular issue of heat radiating in. All I've done is call it a living space and use the 1.5 multiplication as a result of that. So it's a very specific space to try and cool stroke heat if we are going to heat it. We'll have to just wait and see, to be honest. But hey, he is a heating engineer, a specialist in that field. I'm an automotive engineer. We're very different, but there's a bit of an overlap, and he should come up with a solution. I've just got to keep pushing back and saying why things wouldn't work. Okay, last cigarette for the live stream. John, put a waterfall inside. be nice. Water feature, middle of the workshop. That would go down well. Now, I'm sure we'll come up with a solution, but I can't afford to spend $10,000 trying to keep the workshop cool. That will be a little bit on the extravagant side. So I'm hoping that the guy comes up with something that's going to be in budget, but is also going to work. And maybe by taking the heating element out of the equation, that'll bring the price down a bit and give us more cooling. Spend the money on the cooling, that's the thing. I can cope with being cold. I just can't cope with being too hot. Steve, rainwater mist sprayers over open doors. Drops interior temperature by about 10 degrees. Works on the same principle as a charcoal fridge. My boss had them fitted to his house in Nambia. Wow. That's interesting. I don't know how well that would work with the filming though. I don't know. I want plug and play. I want to be able to pay some money, plug it in, make it cold. Simple. It needs to be something that just operates in the background, that it's nice and cool. Again, if we go for just the AC element, then all the equipment, so to speak, is outside. It's just pipes that are ducted in. So the only noise that you get in the workshop is just the flow of the air. So I have to be a little bit careful where I put the cameras, otherwise the mic might pick it up. But I don't think it's going to be that. It's not going to be that severe, I don't think. Daniel, lol. No, I know what you meant. A powder bathroom is what the well-off women would use to look in the mirror and apply facial powder to their faces. Thus the term powder room. Up. That was very well described. I did know what you were getting at. I just thought powder, muskets. You know, I just thought I'd play a joke. It obviously wasn't funny. John, but think of Tool Girl Holly. No more jackets. Yes, you didn't like the jacket, did you? I know, but she was cold, and I mean, what can I do? And it's not cold at the moment. We're going to be filming again in the next few weeks. It might be early March, the way the parts supply is going, but it's still going to be very hot. So aircon is obviously going to be the thing to look at that point. Maybe later in the year, I'll look at the heating side of it if we're going to split it into two things. It would certainly help to spread the cost a bit, that's for sure. Saved rainwater from rainy season, then use them in summer. It's a very fine spray, fully automatic when used with a thermostat, silent in use. That's a very good idea. I just don't know how well I'm going to get on with water mist all over the place. And I have to have the big garage doors closed, but I suppose they would be closed. But yeah, it would help to keep them cool and cut down on the radiated heat. So I'll think about it. It should be easier than this. Daniel, it's got a vanity, and above the vanity mirror, a light and a toilet. Wow. Simon, can you not make something using the burn? I can't even pronounce it. Bernoulli, is it? Principle to pull air through the workshop. I'm sure I can do something. I just don't want bugs coming in the workshop because there's lots of bugs around here. Machine NZ, my word, bloody hell! 2 hours streaming. I know, mate. It's nearly 2.5. It's just ridiculous. I don't know how I manage it. Daniel Bedell, gotcha. Yeah, funny. John Nuttall, second skin roof worked on Land Rovers, lol. It did, and that's sort of work in progress. I'm thinking about potentially doing that because I also want to cut down on the rain noise as well, so that could help with that as well. And by putting a second skin roof on top, it wouldn't mean having to expose the workshop to the elements whilst I'm doing it, so I could take my time and not have to try and get it all done in 1 day or 2 days or whatever. So yes, that is a plan for sure. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're getting very close to the end of the live stream. So if you've got any more comments, now's the time. If you haven't clicked the thumbs up, now's the time. Oh, and if you want to support the channel, the best way you can support the channel is to share one of the videos on your social media. Show people the YouTube channel. Let's get them involved. Let's get them watching some videos. I've really set my stall out to try and grow the subscribers this year. We're at 62,500 odd subscribers now. I would really like, probably not going to happen, would really like to hit the magic 100,000 subs by the end of the year. That's my target. I don't know how on earth I'm going to achieve that. But once you get to 100,000 subs, then you have direct communication, so I believe, with YouTube themselves, and you can discuss things with them. You get a bit more assistance. And that's what I would really like. I want to try and future-proof the channel so I don't fall foul of any of their up-and-coming new regs that they keep putting in. Daniel, I'm going to ask you a really stupid question. No, you're not, Daniel. You're far too clever for that. I've heard you talk about the 240Z. Yes. Yes. We used to sell 240Zs. What is... is it the Fair Lady over there? It's a straight 6 petrol. I think the early ones were just single overhead cam though. I could show you. Well, if you just Google it, just Google 240Z, it'll show you the pictures, and you might from the Google search pick up what the American name is, because it's it was on. Oh God, I forgot the name of it. I'll think of it in a minute. I will. I'll think of it in a minute. Hang on. Bear with me. Bear with me. I've forgotten the name of the channel. It's down here somewhere. It's one of the ones I follow. Mighty Car Mods. I think they had a was it a 240 an old 240Z on there, a white one that he did. So that's the kind of machine that we're talking about. I really do like those machines. Those cars, really good. Steve, gosh, I'm really chuffed at 14,000 subs. You've done really well, Steve. Yeah, 62,500, 62.6 actually. Thanks, John. Yeah, blows me away. It really does. But I just want to grow the channel a bit more, and I can't seem to do that just with videos. Simon Raw, 17 subs, and I'm happy. I'm over the moon. Don't get me wrong, but it's always good to try and have a few targets. Machine NZ just called in, off to do some work. We'll watch the rest of the video later. Cheers, Andy. Thanks, Machine NZ. Great to have you on board for a few minutes. And yeah, enjoy the rest of the live stream when you get a chance to watch it. We talk about all sorts of weird stuff on this live stream, I tell you. Daniel Bedell and the Skid Factory. Yes. Right. 2 hours and 30. Mrs. Mechanic's going to go mental because I stole all the cigarettes. Right, people, this is the end. We've got to the end of the mega live stream. I think it's, if not the longest, certainly the second longest live stream I've ever done. So thank you very much for keeping me well entertained for such a long period of time. Thoroughly enjoyed today's conversation. It's been great to have you all on board. And we've still got 30 people watching at the end of the live stream. So again, thank you for those that have stayed for the duration or for the majority. I really, really appreciate it. And I'll see you next Sunday, same time, same place, 8:30 a.m. Sunday morning. All right, crew, thanks again and enjoy your week. Take care and have fun. All right, crew, cheers. Over and out.